It's not much better for New York City students. An entire high school forced to learn remotely on Wednesday as thousands of migrants occupied the building. Here's our very own Hillary Vaughn confronting Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio Cortez about it.
Are you okay with the school being used as a shelter?
You know, I think it's, again, this is not, it's not in my district. I think it's very clear here that what's most important is that we identify a facility that's appropriate for these folks. I don't anticipate this being a long-term solution. It shouldn't be a long-term solution.
All right, guys, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? That was AOC. AOC confronted on the fact that you have New York City kicking kids out of school to house illegal immigrants. And AOC's response to a question on that issue, well, it's not my district, right? Even though she is a representative from New York City, this is taking place in her city. Nah. It's not my problem. Don't ask me about it. Even though part of the problem is the policies that you support, okay? AOC supports open border policies. In fact, AOC has come out here and essentially advocated for policies that will make the problem even worse.
From all parts of the political spectrum, one of the biggest issues that we have when it comes to immigration is the fact that we have an undocumented population. Mm-hmm. Now, you can fix that by trying to build a wall, or you can fix that by trying to document people and create a path to citizenship. Mm-hmm. We'll have folks that might say, look at these systems, you know, that our shelter system has weight and things like that. But one of the reasons that our public systems experience weight is because people don't have a documented and reliable path to work and sustain themselves, just like all of our ancestors did and our grandparents and great-grandparents.
Like AOC was on TV the other day doing an interview, and she was saying, you know, she was calling them undocumented people, and the way to do it is to give them a path to citizenship. Well, how about you know who the fuck they are? Because if you're a person from another country, say if you're in Europe and you want to come to America and become an American citizen, you know, you're an architect or whatever, this is like a long, lengthy process. And they only take a certain amount of people every year. And you have to prove that you have a skill. There's a reason why you should be here legally.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it illegally, they'll give you money. They'll give you a cell phone. There's people in Mexico. What they're doing is, this is pretty wild, because there's a radio station in San Diego that is a Mexican radio station. This guy was on the Mexican radio station, is explaining how we do it. He's like, he's gone back 4 times that month. So every time he crosses over, he gets $2,000.
He's gaming it.
So he's gaming. He made $8,000 in a month from the federal government.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, Joe Rogan exposing how the solutions of people like AOC are just going to make the problem even worse, because the system is being gamed, okay? The system is being taken advantage of by these illegal immigrants, and this is why you can't continue to just throw money at the problem, which is what AOC wants to do, right? She wants to throw money at the problem instead of actually solving the problem, which is going to be with mass deportations and closing the border, preferably using the military at the border. That will actually solve the issue, okay? That is what we need to do, okay? However, that's not what they're advocating for. What they're advocating for is for the federal government to continue to send them more money to take care of illegals, which is going to do nothing but incentivize more illegals to come to the border, okay? I'm trying to tell you guys, right? In this year, 2024, expect for there to be a massive influx of illegal immigrants at the border, more so than we've already had. Again, we have a record number of illegals coming through the border.
New Customs and Border Protection data obtained by CBS News show that agency is on track to process more than 300,000 migrants, an all-time monthly high. That includes record numbers of families and children. Meanwhile, cities, states, and federal law enforcement report being overwhelmed as the ripple effects spread from border communities to all across the country. And for the latest, we are joined now by CBS immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez. Camilo, you've done some extraordinary reporting on this. Can you tell us what is really driving the sharp increase and who is making up the majority of migrants?
I think, Margaret, the more precise answer I can give you is that the push
and pull factors that historically have driven migration to the U.S. have intensified to a degree that I don't think we have ever seen in U.S. history. We have a relatively stable economy here with many job openings, and that is driving a lot of migration. We also have an immigration system that is massively backlogged and cannot determine quickly who qualifies for asylum and who does not. That also attracts migration. Those are the pull factors, but we have very powerful push factors as well. Deteriorating political and economic conditions in countries like Venezuela, in countries in Africa and Asia are driving record numbers of people to the U.S. This is truly an unprecedented crisis of humanitarian proportions along the border. We have never seen this before. 250,000 migrants are being processed each month at the U.S.-Mexico border.
That's breathtaking. And this is a hemisphere-wide crisis.
That's right.
Yeah, don't be surprised if that number gets worse, okay? Don't be surprised if that number hits over 1 million, okay, per month. Because what's going to happen is that as it becomes more and more clear that Donald J. Trump is going to take back the White House, you're going to have illegals coming to the border trying to get into the country before the party's over, right? Because they know that if Trump is elected, that the party's over, right? You're not going to be able to just come in and claim that you are seeking asylum and that, you're just going to be able to stay. No. The party will be over. So again, there's going to be a massive influx of illegals trying to come into this country, especially going into the election. Okay, I'm telling you, it just makes too much sense. So with that being said, that takes me to Eric Adams, who is doing an interview in which he is going to talk about the illegal immigration crisis and him being criticized for kicking children out of school to house illegals. And I want to react to it because, again, this is just as ridiculous as you would expect from Eric Adams, who seems to be really lost in the sauce, especially when it comes to this issue. So without further ado, let's get into it.
And I'm sure you've heard by now, you were mentioned in last night's debate on the topic of immigration. Let's take a look at this.
This is putting harm on our schools, on our hospitals. Taxpayers are paying for it. You see, these mayors are now upset about it. The only reason Eric Adams is now upset, why? He shouldn't be a sanctuary city then. That's why we have to defund sanctuary cities. Now, Governor Abbott finally did to them what's been happening to Texas for so long. We've got to put an end to this.
All right, Mayor, what's your reaction?
Well, national leaders should have national knowledge of policies. This has nothing to do with sanctuary cities.
Okay, yeah, but it has everything to do with your right to shelter mandate that basically mandates that you take care of anybody that is seeking shelter, okay? And that is why they have to do it, okay? They have to do it, or at least up until, I guess, December 2023, in which they claim now that they don't have to do it anymore. They effectively ended it, which could be the reason why they're doing evictions now. But it does have to do with policies that have mandated that New York City has to house anybody that comes to the city seeking shelter. Now, also on top of that, he talks about how, this doesn't have anything to do with being a sanctuary city. Okay, listen, this is what he actually means by that, right? Because sanctuary city is not like a legal term, right? I mean, it varies based off which municipality, state, local district, whatever is actually implementing a policy. But sanctuary city typically refers to how a city or local municipality refuses to use their own local law enforcement to cooperate with federal law enforcement when it comes to deporting illegals, right? So basically they're saying, look, we're not going to cooperate with ICE in regards to detaining illegals who commit crimes. Once ICE says, look, we want you to hold them a little bit longer so we can get the proper paperwork and deport the illegals, the local municipality says, no, we're not going to do it. We're just going to release them and we're not going to help you enforce the federal law, which is hilarious to think about because they're saying, look, we don't want to cooperate with the federal government when it comes to deporting illegals, okay, which again is enforcing federal law. But now they're saying, we want more cooperation from the federal government to help us take care of the illegals, right? So I want you guys to understand, okay, as a sanctuary city, New York City is a sanctuary city. Eric Adams is simultaneously saying, hey, we don't want to cooperate with the federal government to deport illegals, but we want to cooperate with the federal government to take care of them, which is hilarious, right? It's absolutely hilarious how that works. And this is why they deserve what they're getting, right? They deserve to get all the illegals that they're getting because they essentially have said, we're not going to cooperate with the federal government in regards to deporting them. So therefore, if you're not going to do that, then you should have them. You should take them. Clearly, you want them. You don't want them deported. You should take them. So again, it's just so funny how Eric Adams here, again, is supporting sanctuary city laws that, again, prevent illegals from being deported. But at the same time, he wants the federal government to work with him when it comes to giving them more money to take care of them. Again, it's just amazing how that works.
Migrants and asylum seekers are paroled into the countries. They're here legally.
Again, that's the problem. That's the problem. The problem is that they're here legally, even though they actually really should be illegal, because a lot of them aren't really asylum seekers, okay? A lot of these individuals are economic migrants. They're not escaping political persecution. They're literally coming here for a better job and a better life. I don't blame them for attempting to come into the country, but they're taking advantage of a system that is just allowing them to claim asylum and bringing them in and allowing them to stay without actually going through the process of making sure that they're actually real asylum seekers and that they should be allowed to come into the country. That's the problem, okay? And I personally believe that we're at the point now where we have to have a pause. We have to have a pause across the board when it comes to immigration, okay? I'm not saying it should be permanent. I'm just saying we've taken in so many illegals that we need to fix the current problem that we have with mass deportations and securing the border. And then we can think about restarting legal immigration at a snail's pace, okay? I'm talking about a record low amount of people that we're letting into the country legally because we've taken in so many that, again, we have to deal with the issue that we have first, and we can't just have so many people pouring into this country at one time. That causes issues, right? So again, I think that we have to have an unprecedented solution to an unprecedented problem. And a lot of people may think that's harsh, but I'm so serious. We have to have a pause in immigration, figure out what the hell is going on, and then fix the system, and then we can, resume with legal immigration, but again, at a snail's pace, right? In a way that makes sense. Mainly taking in people who actually have high skills in areas of need, okay, so that we can continue to economically progress as a country. But ideally, we shouldn't even have to do that because we should be using our own populace, the people that are already here, and training them up with the necessary skills to get these jobs and to fill these areas of need that we have, right? That's ideally what we should be doing, okay? We've taken in enough low-skill workers that can do the jobs that nobody wants to do.
And so when you have a national leader talking about sanctuary cities, the reason we're having this is telling me she's not knowledgeable on the real topic. The problem is when you parole someone into a country, you should have a decompression strategy on a national level to spread it throughout the country and not target just certain cities. That's why you're seeing this real coalition of Chicago, Denver, Boston. All of these cities are now starting to realize that this is what Eric was saying, that this is not sustainable.
Again, this guy's such a clown, right? Let me tell you why this guy's such a clown. He's basically saying, look, we need to spread the illegals across the country, which is exactly what's happening. That is what Texas Governor Greg Abbott is doing. He's spreading the illegals across the country, but yet Eric Adams is complaining about it. But at the same time, when the illegals were just in Texas, and Texas was dealing with the problem, and they weren't dealing with it, where were all these people saying that, well, the illegals need to be spread across the country? Where were all these people? When Texas was complaining and said, yo, we're taking on most of this problem, there's an issue, they said, no, shut up, you're a bigot, you're racist, you're xenophobic, you need to deal with the issue. Now they're being spread to these liberal cities, all of a sudden, oh, no, you need to spread them across the country. Everybody needs to take on the problem. What was this when the border states were mainly dealing with the problem? Oh, they didn't care. The idea of spreading them across the country was racist. But again, when they actually get what they asked for, which is for them to be spread across the country, that's what's being done. Oh, no, this is wrong. We're taking on too much of the problem by ourselves. And it's like, no, you're not. You're taking it on with everybody else, okay? We're sharing the wealth here, okay? But apparently, again, they don't like sharing the wealth, okay, when it comes to illegal immigrants. It's amazing how that works.
When you talk about not sustainable, it's also causing some real strain on the systems here in New York. There was a lot of backlash just this week about a high school in Brooklyn. There was a tent shelter. Those families, because of the weather, were moved into that high school. How are we going to continue to handle this? Because those parents were very angry.
Okay, and we need to be really clear about that, because there were people called in bomb threats, people who made some nasty remarks. That's not New York. Just because a numerical fringe group, 9, 10 people call in, we're 8.3 million New Yorkers. We've always used our school buildings during emergencies. During the fire in 2022, up in the Bronx, we moved those residents in school. When you have flooding, major storms, we move them into school buildings. When you have buildings collapse, we use school buildings. We're not going to say in the city that when we have an emergency that impacts migrants, we're not going to use our school buildings, because no matter what people say, if you look closely, these are still children, and adults should not ever put anything that's going to endanger children. Not one child or family sleeps on the streets of the city of New York because of what my team has done. We did the right thing. And those parents who are stating that we can't inconvenience someone for one day because of other children, that's not acceptable, and I'm not going to put children in harm's way.
Wow, incredible stuff, right? Democrats, he's telling you straight up, listen, if you're a parent and you got a problem with the city putting illegal immigrants and their families before you and your family, right, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable, because the children of illegal immigrants is more important than the children of American citizens and taxpayers. Amazing, right? Democrats tell you exactly how they put Americans last, but yet these people will line up and still vote for this. They'll line up and still vote for it, even though they tell you exactly what they believe in. It's amazing stuff. But again, this is a product of woke ideology. This is a product of thinking that, oh, well, you know, these people, because they're illegal immigrants, they're at the bottom of the totem pole, right? They need the most help. They're the biggest victim. Therefore, they come before everybody else. Again, that's woke logic. And this is what woke logic has led to. These people voted for this type of stuff. And then listen to the response here. The city tells these people, screw you. Our priority is going to be migrants first, right? You're second. Even though you pay taxes, you paid into the system. Your tax money paid for the school, paid for the shelter. Don't matter. We're going to put them first. Again, amazing stuff, right? These people, again, I don't understand how anybody continues to vote Democrat after seeing what is happening to this country in the last 3 years under Biden. It is fascinating. It really is. I think that a large part of this country has Stockholm syndrome, and they must like the bad policies that are affecting them negatively. All right. That's the only conclusion I can come to at this point. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.